Does Mario Tennis Aces have a problem? Can we see ourselves playing this game beyond 15 to 20 hours? What is the long game for Mario and his rackets? Gabe, that's what we're discussing today after we saw how DLC is going to be handled and after we've seen some of the player base express frustration.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit confusing for me because I actually enjoy the heck out of Mario Tennis Aces. The pre-launch tournament really sold me on the gameplay, and it just feels so good. I'm still having a ton of fun with it, but I have found myself wondering, hey, how long can this go? There's been another example of a multiplayer-centric game for Nintendo that had some issues in ARMS. People were very unhappy with that, the limited amount of modes, and Mario Tennis Aces arguably has less modes, even though you can play duos online as well. It's still just like tennis matches, really. And yeah, so it just gets so tricky because if people said, oh, there's nothing to do in ARMS, there's no reason to keep playing this, I wonder if people are going to have a similar issue with Mario Tennis.
And in some ways it might be worse because new characters in ARMS added a lot more gameplay mechanics than new characters in Mario Tennis Aces. One, because the roster is smaller, and two, because they each have their own unique sort of tactics. And yes, some of the characters in MTA will probably have different styles, and we saw Koopa Troopa, he slides around and adds a little bit of speed, but it's not as... It doesn't change up the flow of play or the feel of play as much as a character in ARMS. And I also will point to the fact that ARMS had a better party online system than Mario Tennis Ace. It's really hard to get in there with a bunch of your friends and play in a quick, fun, easy, everybody active way. It's a lot of either waiting or a very limited scope for how many people you get in those lobbies. I think it is tricky, though, because as you mentioned, Gabe, the mechanics are super awesome, and the game itself is so much fun. And in fact, we loved it from the get-go, and once we uncovered some of the deeper, more skill-based things that you can pull off in the game, it became even more fun. I think part of the issue here is, one, what do you add to a tennis game, right? It's kind of like inherently, the better players get, the rallies are going to become more and more extended. The duel, per se, of ball and racket is going to feel monotonous to some players because that's just kind of the nature of tennis, right? Some of the best tennis matches are just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Maybe it's more that we've kind of reached the limit of what the sport can provide, so much more so than the game is lacking itself.
Yeah, and there are a number of things that are kind of in the way for the game here. I think the first one I want to get into, right? Koopa Troopa recently got released, and you had to complete one match in an online tournament to unlock him. At that point, why don't you just release him for everybody if that's how you're going to do it? Because that's sort of silly, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Why not make it like the pre-launch tournament where you had to get a certain number of points in order to unlock him? I would even go as far as maybe even winning a tournament. Lock him behind winning a tournament so that not everyone has him. I want to feel cool for having a character that not everybody else does. Same with the outfits, right? There's one outfit in the game right now. It's the classic Mario that you got for playing in the pre-launch tournament. And that is it. So there's a number of other characters in the game. Why not have classic outfits for everybody that you can unlock just by using them more often? Why not incentivize me to even try new characters with cooler outfits? Right now, I know that this is super unpopular, or the opposite of unpopular, but you'll know what I'm talking about in a moment. Bowser Jr. He's my guy. He's a lot of people's guy. He's by far the top tier character. He's the one that I feel comfortable with, a lot of other people feel comfortable with. Why not incentivize us to use some of the lesser use characters by having outfits for them that you can unlock by playing with them more or something like that? Just give us a reason to change up, because if we're going to treat this just like a sports game and you play a tennis match to win, if I want to win, I want to play as the character that is the most top tier, that I feel the most comfortable with, and that I had the highest chance of winning, and that for me and for a lot of people is Bowser Jr. There's zero incentive to do anything else. So that for me was a big misstep. Koopa's cool and everything. I played a few matches with him, but there's no way I'm going to feel as comfortable with him after a few matches than I was with Bowser Jr. after hundreds of them now. So that's a big issue. The other big issue that I wanted to get into, and we've seen this echoed in the comment section a little bit, is maybe skill is going to be a deterrent for people. We've seen people openly admit, hey, I really like Mario Tennis Aces. Like, I like the gameplay, but I can't be competitive online. Like, people are too good. There's nothing I can do there. So even that kind of takes away from the potential lifespan a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a parallel you can draw directly with ARMS, where players began to felt like, if I'm not in this upper echelon of skill where I can compete with a not a small online player base, but from launch on, it kind of will begin to taper off, right? That's just like inevitable. And as that happens, as that process evolves, the skill curve, becomes more dramatic. And if you're not part of that top tier, it becomes frustrating because you are relying on the matches themselves, right? If there aren't going to be a whole lot of extras, if there aren't going to be a whole lot of side modes, it's the matches themselves that are interesting. And I do think there's a bit of this, as I touched on, that a lot of players may have viewed this game as just a Mario Sports fun experience as opposed to a sports game. Because if you're talking to someone who plays Madden, like, yes, there is a lot of single-player content in Madden, but from the multiplayer end of it, it's not like, oh god, we want these crazy things to happen in Madden. Like, it's football. But people are very aware that it's football. And so I think, take away the Mario name, and people are pretty darn sure if they like tennis or not. But because it's Mario, because it's Nintendo, you have a lot of players willing to give it a try and finding that it is a lot of fun, but then figuring out, okay, this is kind of as far as the tennis game can be stretched. What more is there? And Nintendo didn't really provide much. I really like what you said about giving us outfits. I don't know why winning a tournament with a character online does not reward us with a secondary costume. I think that's a perfectly simple, almost no development time, no cost. I mean, it's got to be super cheap just to put a new skin in for Mario, right? It's got to be super cheap to give us like a classic Peach outfit or something, right? Like, there's no reason that couldn't be an incentive to go through and win an online tournament with each character. You win the online tournaments, and what do you get, Gabe? You've won, what, 4 of them now?
5, and you get the trophy, I guess. And even those reset after like every month. I had won 4 or 3 or something in the previous months, and that gets reset when the new tournaments start. You start back with 0 wins. And cool, like, now I have a couple of wins again, but I mean, it's nice for ranking up on the leaderboards, I guess. But other than that, there's not a whole lot there.
Right, and in some ways that's cool. We wanted them to take more of an online focus with these multiplayer games, and it's not like, oh, every game you play should be about what you unlock. Progression is great, but sometimes it is just the fun of playing and moving up those leaderboards. I do wish that there were either daily challenges or that they utilized the DLC in a way that could have provided that extra content. Why not make it tricky to get Koopa, at least for the first month? Then, yeah, dump him on everybody, but make it like, ooh, he must be a really, like, top player. He must invest a lot of time. He's got Koopa. Instead of, ooh, he's a top player. He's wiping me off the face of the court, and I don't have a chance. I'm not going to say that, like, skill is what will make this game fall apart a few months down the line. I think that's kind of a weak argument. Like, there's always opportunity to get better, and because players are good, it doesn't mean that that's the game's fault. But again, it feels like it could drift down a path of ARMS. You get done with that single player adventure very quickly. You're now playing these online matches, limited modes. The DLC, may bring people back, but I think it's even less of an incentive with MTA because they did not leverage the ability to make the unlock interesting in any way.
Yeah. And, okay, look, this is a perfect time to make the video, right? Because the play activity for me just updated, right? For the first, 10 days or so, it tells you, hey, you played this game first, X amount of days ago. That has now shifted over to hours for me. Guess how many hours of Mario Tennis Aces I played? I think it might not be as many as you think. How many do you think I played? Just take a guess.
20.
I have played 30 or more hours of Mario Tennis Aces. That's a lot.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours to spend on Mario Tennis Aces, in my opinion. Of course, there's probably people that have played a lot more. I understand that. I don't claim to be super amazing at the game, although I do currently sit at a 70% win ratio in this month's tournament, so I'm happy about that so far. But, yeah, I'm still having fun with it. I don't know if I'm going to cross the 50-hour mark without this kind of, unless something drastically changes, right? The outfits that are promised, I mean, something's coming as far as that goes. We don't know what shape it's going to take, but if it's like, hey, go play a match and you have this outfit, and then everybody has the outfit, that makes it feel less special to me. So I don't know. I really hope that they hear people out, because there is a consensus of players that are a little worried about what's going on with the game.
Yes, and it kind of is a 2018 problem where we want all these games to extend their longevity well beyond the launch window, because years ago, Mario Tennis on GameCube, say, that game became a title that, yeah, you probably poured a lot of hours into during launch week, but then it kind of sat there as something that you'd play with friends when they came over, or when you got together with your family. Mario Tennis Aces will still have that pull. It just doesn't maybe sit alongside some of the current mainstay multiplayer titles, and maybe that's okay. I mean, Gabe, you got 30 hours out of the game. I'd say for most full price experiences, like, that's plenty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, right? Like, if I never play another match of Mario Tennis Aces, spoilers, I am going to. Like, I'm good, right? Like, right. I've got the price's worth of the game out of it, so that's perfectly fine. I'm not disappointed in that. It's just, the game was out a week ago, or like a couple weeks ago, or whatever it is at this point, right? So how do you maintain this through the summer, I guess? Because the next big thing is what, Mario Party, the next
Captain
big
Toad,
Nintendo thing.
Yeah,
I'm talking about I'm not talking about Captain Toad.
Yeah, Super Mario Party in October is kind of what you got going on, and yeah, I guess when you're looking to establish a game that can kind of last online, I think Mario Tennis Aces can be a game that, hey, like, when we get together, we'll still want to play some Mario Tennis Aces, or you find friends that you want to experience that with. I do think a simpler online system, or one that made it easier to play and pick courts and all that, mess with the match length, like, that would have added at least a little bit. But maybe it speaks to these games need to add more on the offline end. If we're going to compare to other sports titles, obviously they're not Nintendo made, but games like Madden and NBA 2K, they invest a lot into their side modes, right? There's a lot that you can do in terms of career modes. And I'm not saying Nintendo needs to go sim, right? That's not the goal here. But perhaps challenges, achievements, unlocks. That's why something like those outfits you keep mentioning is so important, because it would give you reason to play through repetitive content, just because there'd be something to get at the end, right? And you see that, like, in Mario Kart, going for all the cups or whatnot. There's just not a whole lot here. And I think it also matters that outside of a few of the adventure mode levels, the computer is nowhere near as competent as the best online players.
No.
So winning those offline tournaments, I mean, that entire menu option is basically, for me, it's unused. Like it's a non-factor, right? I wish that there was a better way they could have fit that in. But alas, like, I do want to take the other side of the coin approach, which is, hey, you get 4 to 5 hours out of that single player. You play a bunch of online. It can still be a game that is awesome for when friends come over. Does it need to be more? Would we love it to be more? Sure. But maybe it fills its role just fine.
I mean, we definitely want to know what you think, though. Let us know in the comments if Mario Tennis Aces is something that you foresee yourself playing throughout the summer, or if it's something that you've kind of already moved past. There is competition on Switch right now. Hey, Fortnite's out here. So there is multiplayer fun to be had on Nintendo Switch, and the online service is coming that promises to, at the very least, give us some more traditional games that we're able to play online with as well. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see if people... or if Mario Tennis Aces is still holding people's attentions in that manner. So, yeah, sound off.
Yeah. And they will be updating the sort of the character parity and working to balance that out. So we're not really speaking about that too much, because we expect that to be fixed, and we expect that to kind of level out as the months goes on. But if you've already exhausted the content, or if you've already played, and it's just now Bowser hits it a little bit less hard, not sure that's going to do it for people. But yeah, let us know your take in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from the Switch and Switch games like this one. Follow us on Twitter and Discord. There's links in the description below. And until next time, for myself and Gabe, thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. Switch Force out.